If you knew you had only 30 days to live, would you rise each morning with purpose or continue drifting without direction? Would you chase the dream that's haunted you for years or silence it once again with excuses? Success demands urgency. Life is not a rehearsal, and time owes you nothing. If your final hour came today, would your legacy whisper regret or roar with pride? Act now with burning desire, for the clock is ticking, and greatness waits for no one. 1. Confront the truth of your mortality. 2. Live each day with purpose and intensity. 3. Eliminate excuses. Time is limited. 4. Pursue your deepest desires without delay. 5. Build a legacy that makes you proud. If today were your last, what would you see when you look in the mirror? Fear or fulfillment? Dread or pride? Stop right where you are and think, not casually, not as an intellectual exercise, but deeply and honestly, about the fact that you, like every human being before you and every soul yet to breathe, are going to die. That's not a metaphor, and it's not meant to scare you. It's a truth that has traveled beside you every day of your life, whether you chose to see it or not. But now, imagine this. You have just been told you have exactly 30 days to live. No extensions, no second chances, no miracle cures. Suddenly, everything changes. The noise in your life fades, the distractions lose their grip, and what matters, what truly matters, rises to the surface. You no longer care about the trivial. The arguments, the comparisons, the envy, the likes and comments, the failed expectations, they all vanish like mist in the morning sun, and what's left staring back at you is the raw truth of who you are and how you've spent your time. That moment, my friend, is the greatest test of your character and the most honest measure of your success. Have you lived? Have you dared? Have you left a mark? Or have you merely existed, swept along by the tides of habit, fear, and procrastination? Facing the truth of your mortality is not morbid, it is liberating, because in that confrontation, something wakes up inside of you. A fire, a hunger, a deep and primal awareness that time is your most precious resource and you are its steward. When you stop pretending that you have forever, you start living with urgency, with purpose, with fire in your bones. The moment you accept death, you begin to cherish life, not in theory, but in practice. You hug tighter, you forgive faster, you laugh louder, you work harder, and you refuse to spend another day in the shadows of someday. You see, people spend their entire lives chasing things that don't matter, approval, validation, possessions, and they forget that the real prize is peace of mind when their head touches the pillow at night. That peace doesn't come from what you own, it comes from knowing you've lived true to yourself, that you've given your best, that you've honored your gifts. The cemetery is full of unspoken words, unwritten books, unsung songs, unlived dreams, and the only way to make sure your name doesn't add to that silent tragedy is to face your mortality today, not someday. Because someday is a myth, a fog that steals your time while convincing you there's always more. But there isn't. There's only now, and this precious, fleeting moment, is where your power lies. When you stare down your death, your ego quiets and your soul speaks. You start to ask the real questions. Am I proud of who I am? Am I becoming who I was meant to be? Would I be proud of the way I've spent my time if it all ended next month? These questions aren't here to depress you. They're here to set you free. They rip the blindfold off your life and show you what's really at stake. Most people live like they have unlimited chances, like tomorrow is guaranteed, but it's not. Your clock is ticking, mine too. The difference between the fulfilled and the frustrated is not talent, not luck, but awareness. Those who win at life are those who remember how short it is, and use that truth as fuel, not fear. They don't waste days waiting for perfect conditions. They act now. They don't fear failure. They fear regret. They don't let comfort rob them of their calling, and you Yes, you have that same fire in you. You've just been lulled to sleep by routine, seduced by comfort, distracted by the meaningless, but it's not too late. That's the miracle. You still have today. You still have this breath, this chance, this opportunity to look mortality in the eye and say, I see you, and because of you, I will live differently. It's not enough to know you'll die. You must let that knowledge change how you live. Let it make you bolder. Let it push you to speak your truth. Let it remind you to take the risk, make the call, start the thing, forgive the person, write the words, love fully, dream louder, and never, ever sleepwalk through a day again. The clock is running, and every tick is a question. Are you proud of how you're spending your time? Are you creating something that will outlast you? Are you becoming the kind of person your future self would thank or regret? The truth is, none of us know when our final 30 days will begin. It could be next year. It could be tonight. That uncertainty is not your enemy. It's your wake-up call, because it means every day you wake up is a second chance, a fresh start, a blank page begging for the ink of intention. Don't waste another sunrise under the illusion of immortality. Don't chase the hollow victories that crumble when the curtain falls. Chase the legacy that echoes. Chase the vision that excites and scares you. Chase the life that makes you proud to face the end, not because you're ready to go, but because you've truly lived. That's the ultimate victory, not in escaping death, but in living so fully that when it comes, it finds you with no regrets, no words left unsaid, no songs left unsung. Let the thought of your death sharpen your focus, not paralyze your heart. Let it be the reason you show up stronger, love deeper, create more fiercely, and speak more truthfully. Let it rip the masks off your life and expose the dreams that are crying for resurrection. You are not born to drift. You were born to blaze a trail, to leave a mark, to echo beyond your years. But that only happens when you stop acting like you have forever. Look around you. Look at the clock, the sky, the faces of those you love. All of it is fleeting, all of it is borrowed. Make it count, make it unforgettable. Make it so that if your 30 days started now, you'd rise with resolve, live with urgency, love without fear, and when the curtain falls, you'd smile, not because death hasn't come, but because it found you already victorious. That's what it means to confront the truth of your mortality, not to run from death, but to use it as the spark that sets your life on fire. When a man begins to understand the power of a single day, his entire world begins to shift, and he no longer drifts through life like a leaf tossed by the wind, but becomes a master of his time, a commander of his destiny, and a steward of the minutes that most others waste without a thought. The truth is that every day is a gift, and every gift comes with responsibility. And if you woke up today, then you've been given a priceless treasure, a stretch of time filled with opportunity, wrapped in potential, bursting with the raw material of greatness. But here's the catch: it will not wait for you. It will not pause while you hesitate. It will not offer itself again tomorrow if you fail to use it today. And once it's gone forever. So the question, the challenge, the eternal test of character becomes, how will you use the day before you? How will you rise to meet it? Demands, how will you inject purpose into every action and intensity into every step? Because a life worth remembering is not built in years. It is built in days, in hours, in moments where you decided to show up when you could have stayed hidden, to give more when it was easier to withdraw, to act with conviction when comfort whispered for you to rest. And what separates the extraordinary from the average is not luck, not even talent alone, but the simple, powerful decision to treat each day like it matters, because it does, and to live as if everything you do echoes beyond the hour in which you do it. And most people don't understand this because they're too busy surviving, too buried in distraction, too numb from repetition to realize that time is not a river. It is a fuse burning shorter by the second, and you have the match in your hand. So what will you light with it? What legacy Will you forge? What difference will you make? Because let me tell you this. Purpose is not something you find, it's something you decide, something you create, something you declare in the face of doubt and fear and fatigue, and intensity is the fuel that keeps that fire alive, that pushes you forward when the world wants you to slow down, that carries you through rejection, setbacks, pain, and failure. Not because those things disappear, but because your purpose becomes bigger than your problems. And when you live like that, when you start your day not with dread, but with determination, not with confusion, but with clarity, not with hesitation, but with heat in your soul, then life begins to respond to you differently because purpose attracts power, intensity creates momentum, and every great thing that has ever been achieved started with someone who decided that their days would no longer be wasted, and the moment you draw that line is the moment you begin to shift from passive to powerful, from reactive to intentional, and this doesn't mean that every day is perfect. It means that every day is meaningful, and that difference changes everything, because when you rise in the morning and you know why you're alive, you stop needing alarms, you stop craving approval, you stop looking for easy routes and start choosing the worthy ones, the paths that stretch you, that challenge you, that force you to grow into the person your purpose demands you become, and every day becomes a proving ground not against others, but against your lesser self, against your excuses, against your tendency to retreat, and each time you rise with purpose and move with intensity, you chip away at mediocrity, you silence the voices of doubt, and you prove to the world, and more importantly to yourself, that you are not here by accident, that you are not a wanderer lost in the fog, but a builder, a warrior, a force of will committed to something greater than mere survival. And you can see it in the way you walk, in the way you speak, in the way you treat others, and how you spend your minutes, because purpose is not loud, but it is clear, and intensity is not chaotic, but focused like a beam of light that cuts through distraction and burns through fear, and that is what separates the man who lives fully from the one who merely exists, because the one who lives fully has decided to do so, has committed to a cause beyond comfort, has chosen to sacrifice ease for excellence, and understands that the only way to build a life of meaning is to fill each day with meaning, and that doesn't require perfection, but it does demand presence. It demands participation, and it demands that you bring your full self to the work, to the goal, to the people you love and the values you hold, because a life built on half measures is a life of regret, but a life fueled by purpose and intensity is a life that leaves echoes, that makes others braver, that inspires action and creates a ripple effect that outlives your own breath. And if you want to build something great, if you want to leave a legacy that others talk about long after you're gone, then it begins here, now, today, not someday, not when things calm down, not when the timing is perfect, but when you rise from your bed with fire in your gut and clarity in your mind, and make the choice to live today like it matters, because it does. And if you're waiting for a sign, this is it. This is your wake-up call. This is your reminder that purpose is not a faraway goal, but a daily discipline, and intensity is not recklessness, but focused, consistent, unstoppable energy directed at what matters most to you. So don't let today be just another day. Don't drift, don't settle, don't waste it scrolling, sleeping, or second guessing your worth. Get up, get clear, get moving, and let every action you take reflect a deeper mission, a calling, a drive that cannot be faked and will not be denied, because when you live like that, when you give everything to the day before you, something shifts in the universe, and doors open, people notice, opportunities emerge, and you begin to walk in alignment with the man or woman you were meant to be, not someday, but now, today, and you feel it in your chest, that pull towards significance, that ache for meaning, and instead of ignoring it, you chase it, you feed it, and you let it shape your habits, your choices, your actions, and as days pass, they Stack not as wasted time, but as a monument to a life lived with fierce intention and relentless drive, and one day, when your time comes and the clock runs out, you will not tremble with regret or shrink in fear, because you will know in your bones and in your soul that you gave this life all, that you lived with purpose and intensity, that you didn't wait to be pushed, but pushed yourself, that you didn't wait to be chosen, but chose yourself. And that, my friend, is what it means to be truly alive. That is what it means to leave a mark. That is what it means to live each day with purpose and intensity. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must make a decision so powerful, so definitive, so faltering that nothing remains the same after it's made, and that decision, for those who dare to grow beyond mediocrity, is to eliminate every excuse that stands between them and the life they are meant to live, because excuses are the lies we tell ourselves to feel better about doing less than we're capable of, and the truth is, while you're giving yourself reasons to delay, the clock is ticking, the world is moving, your opportunity is shrinking, and time, this unforgiving, unstoppable, unrenewable resource, is slipping through your fingers like sand in a broken hourglass, and yet day after day, people make excuses like they've got forever to get it right, like they'll always have tomorrow, like success is something they can chase down later when it's more convenient. But later becomes never, tomorrow becomes regret, and the life they could have had fades into a silent what if, buried deep inside their soul. And I'm telling you now, if you want to live a life of impact, of fulfillment, of significance, then the very first thing you must do is kill the excuses that have been protecting your comfort and strangling your potential, because every time you say, "I can't," you weaken your power. Every time you say, "I'm too tired," you trade greatness for ease. Every time you say, "I don't have time," you lie to yourself, because time is not something you have or don't have, it's something you make. And if you're not making time for your goals, your health, your dreams, your growth, then you've made time for distractions, for weakness, for the same cycles that keep you stuck. And if that doesn't stir something in your spirit, then you've been asleep for too long. But here's the good news: you can wake up now. You can shake yourself free from the excuses that have chained you to mediocrity. Because every excuse is a story, and every story can be rewritten the moment you decide you've had enough. And yes, life is hard, yes, things get in the way, yes, you've been hurt, betrayed, broken, and knocked down, but so has every person who's ever done anything meaningful, and they didn't use pain as a reason to quit. They used it as fuel to rise. They didn't wait until the conditions were perfect. They started where they were, with what they had, and let their hunger carry them the rest of the way, because the ones who win in life aren't the ones who have the fewest obstacles. They're the ones who refuse to be stopped by them, and excuses are clever. They dress themselves up in logic, in reason, in the voices of your past and the doubts of your present. They tell you to be realistic, to slow down, to play it safe, to stay in your lane. But listen to me, if you don't challenge those excuses, they will become your truth, they will become your identity, they will become the script of your life, and you'll be standing at the end of your story wondering what might have been, not because you didn't have the talent, but because you believed the excuses more than you believed in yourself. And I know some of them are deep. I know some were handed to you by others. Parents who didn't believe in you, teachers who labeled you, friends who mocked your dreams. But none of that matters now unless you let it, because today, right now, this moment is a fork in the road, and you can either keep defending your limits or you can rise above them. But you can't do both, and yes, it takes courage to face your excuses, to strip away the comfort they offer and stare at the raw truth of your own power. Because when you remove the excuses, you remove the cushion, you remove the option to blame, and suddenly, you are left with only one thing: responsibility. And responsibility, though heavy, is the birthplace of freedom, because once you own your choices, you own your results, and once you own your results, you can change them, improve them, elevate them, and create something greater than what you inherited. And that is the magic of this mindset. When you say, "I'm done making excuses," you declare war on the part of yourself that would rather coast than climb, that would rather talk than act, that would rather wish than work. And from that moment on, you become a different person, not because your circumstances change overnight, but because you change, and when you change, the world begins to bend in your direction, because opportunity doesn't respond to excuses. It responds to effort, to persistence, to clarity and action and ownership. And every time you show up without an excuse, you build self-respect, and self-respect is the foundation of success, because when you respect yourself, you don't let yourself off the hook. You don't talk yourself out of your goals. You don't wait for permission to become great. You just do the work, and you keep doing the work whether you feel like it or not, because you understand something most people never learn, that motivation is fleeting, but discipline is forever, and you get disciplined by killing excuses, by refusing to argue for your limitations, by refusing to let your past predict your future, and by making a decision every single day to take a step forward, no matter how small, because momentum builds in action, not in delay, and if you can just keep stepping, keep choosing, keep moving, then one day you'll look back and realize that the very things that once held you back have become the reasons you succeeded, not because they vanished, but because you stopped using them as an excuse. And this applies to every area of your life: your health, your wealth, your relationships, your mindset. If it matters to you, then you must protect it from excuses, because excuses are thieves. They rob you of time, of progress, of dreams, and the longer you entertain them, the harder they are to break. So break them now. Don't wait for a crisis to wake you up. Don't wait until time runs out. Don't wait until regret suffocates your joy. Decide today that your life is too important, your mission too sacred, your potential too vast to be reduced to a list of reasons why you haven't done what you were called to do. And every time you feel an excuse rising in your throat, catch it, challenge it, choke it with truth, and replace it with action, because action is the antidote to excuse. And when you act in spite of fear, fatigue, doubt, or difficulty, you grow, you evolve, you expand your capacity to endure and to achieve, and that becomes your new identity. Not the person who could have, but the person who did, who showed up, who fought through, who made it happen. And if you want to become that person, it starts with one decision, one moment of truth, one conversation with yourself where you say no more and mean it, and then you back it up with behavior, with habits, with a standard that refuses to accept anything less than your best. And no, it won't be easy. Yes, you'll stumble. Yes, you'll be tempted to fall back into old patterns. But each time you rise, you get stronger, more focused, more committed, and the more you eliminate excuses, the more room you create for results, for breakthroughs, for the kind of life most only dream about. And one day, not long from now, someone will ask you how you did it, how you turned your life around, how you built something great from what once felt broken, and you'll smile, not because it was easy, but because it was worth it. And you'll say, "I stopped making excuses, and I started making progress." And that truth, my friend, is the key to everything you want, to everything you are becoming, to everything you were born to do. Because the moment you eliminate excuses is the moment you step fully into your power, and that is the moment your real life begins. There will come a day, whether we want to accept it or not, when our time here will run out, when the breath in our lungs gives way to stillness, when the noise of our daily grind falls silent, and we are remembered not by what we owned or how we looked or what kind of car we drove, but by what we stood for, how we lived, how we made others feel, how we chose to show up in this brief window of time called life. And in that moment, we don't get a second chance to rewrite our story, to add chapters we ignored, to relive opportunities we squandered, to speak the words we were too afraid to say. And that truth, though sobering, holds a hidden gift. A powerful reminder that every day we wake up is a chance to create something that lives beyond us, that stretches past the limits of our flesh and becomes part of the larger fabric of humanity, because whether you believe it or not, you are Writing your legacy right now, not someday, not in the distant future, but in this very hour with every decision you make, every action you take, every word you speak, every promise you keep or break, and the question you must ask yourself, deeply, seriously, urgently, is this: if I died in 30 days, would I be proud of the legacy I'm leaving behind? Because that answer will shake the truth out of you faster than any motivational quote or feel-good mantra. It will pull the mask off your procrastination. It will expose the distance between your intentions and your actions. And if you're brave enough to look it square in the eye, you'll realize that legacy isn't something we find at the end of life. It's something we build in the middle of the struggle, in the mess, in the day-to-day grind, when no one's watching, when you're tired, when it would be easier to give in or give up, but you don't, and that becomes the brick and mortar of your name, because legacy is built in how you show up when you don't feel like it, when everything in you wants to quit, but something deeper keeps you moving, and that something is purpose, a calling, a mission that whispers to you when the world is loud, that won't let you settle or coast or nut yourself into comfort, and that mission, when fully embraced, forces you to live differently, to lead with intention, to speak with clarity, to love without condition, to forgive quickly, to build something meaningful, to stop wasting time on drama, distractions, or things that won't matter 5 years from now, because people who live like their legacy depends on it don't wait. They act, they risk, they fail, they rise again, and they understand that time is a privilege not to be taken for granted. And if you knew for certain that your time was short, that your clock was winding down, how would you live then? How would you love? Who would you become? What would you start or stop or say or do? And why wait for tragedy or diagnosis or heartbreak to shake us awake when wisdom can do it sooner? And wisdom says, live urgently, love fully, lead boldly, because every second matters, every choice echoes into eternity, and the people who remember you won't remember what you owned. They'll remember how you made them feel, how you lifted them up when they were down, how you stayed when others walked away, how you stood for something even when it cost you, how you gave when you had little, how you believed when hope was thin, how you showed the world through your actions what integrity really looks like, and that is legacy, not statues or headlines or applause, but impact. The quiet, powerful ripple of a life well lived, of character consistently expressed, of faith honored in the dark and in the light, and you don't need a perfect past or a flawless present to build this kind of legacy. You just need the courage to start now, to do the next right thing, to align your life with your values, to stop pretending and start becoming, because pretending burns energy and becoming builds momentum, and when you live in truth, you live in power, and when you live in power, you walk differently, you speak differently, you make decisions not for comfort but for contribution, and contribution is where legacy is born, not in what you take, but in what you give, not in who you impress, but in who you serve, and your legacy is waiting to be born in how you treat the stranger, in how you mentor the lost, in how you live with consistency even when no one's watching, because greatness isn't in the spotlight, it's in the shadows, in the discipline of daily choices, in unseen sacrifices that lead to visible outcomes, and one day, long after you're gone, your name will carry the weight of your choices, and when people speak of you, they will speak of what you stood for, what you built, what you gave, what you endured, what you forgave, what you changed, and in that moment, your legacy will speak louder than your words ever could. And it starts now, right now, today, in this breath, in this decision, in how you carry yourself forward. Because you don't need to be famous to leave a mark. You just need to be faithful, faithful to your purpose, faithful to your vision, faithful to your standards, and you must stop waiting for clarity and start creating it. Stop searching for signs and start becoming the sign. Stop asking for a path and start paving one, because legacy-driven living is not passive, it is deliberate, it is intentional, it is fueled by the deep understanding that nothing is promised and everything is precious. And when you understand this, you don't waste time, you redeem it, you don't coast, you climb, you don't compete. You contribute, and you live not just for yourself, but for the generations who will one day benefit from your strength, your wisdom, your story, and yes, your scars, because even your pain can be part of your legacy if you let it grow you, if you choose not to be bitter but to be better, if you choose to turn your wounds into wisdom and your mess into a message, then you create a legacy of resilience, of healing, of hope. And if there's one thing this world needs more than ever, it's people who live on purpose, who love without limits, who lead with humility, who leave behind not just memories, but movements, not just stories, but standards, not just footprints in the sand, but foundations others can build on. And that kind of living starts with asking the hard question: if I died in 30 days, would I be proud of the life I've lived? And if the answer isn't a resounding yes, then good. Now you know what to do. Now you know what to change. Now you know what to cut, what to chase, what to protect, what to build, because awareness is the beginning of transformation, and transformation is the root of legacy, and you were not born to blend in or to coast through life or to accumulate meaningless trophies. You were born to create, to shine, to lead, to serve, to make this world better because you were here. And the moment you accept that responsibility is the moment you begin to live with the urgency, intensity, and grace that legacy demands. And though your time may be limited, your impact is not. Your story, if lived well, will outlive your body. Your influence will echo through the lives you touch, and your name will be a banner not of what you had, but of who you were. And that, above all else, is what makes life worth living. Not the years in your life, but the life in your years. Not the comfort of the moment, but the contribution you make. Not the applause of the crowd, but the quiet thank you whispered by someone you helped. And when you live like your legacy depends on it, you live wide awake, you live fully alive. And when that final breath comes, as it will for us all, you'll meet it not with fear, but with fulfillment, not with regret, but with peace, not with empty hands, but with a full heart, knowing you gave it all, held nothing back, and left this world better than you found it. That, my friend, is how legends are made, and that is what you were born to be. There's something deeply tragic about going to the grave with your dreams still inside you, something soul-wrenching about knowing you had the chance, the time, the ideas, the spark, and still did nothing with it, because fear spoke louder than faith, because doubt bullied vision into silence, because the opinions of others were allowed to outweigh the voice of your own calling. And I'm telling you right now with everything in me, do not let your dreams die with you. Do not take your purpose to the cemetery. Do not go quietly into the earth without shouting with your life that you were here, that you mattered, that you tried, that you created, that you failed and got back up, that you weren't just another person passing time, paying bills, waiting for retirement, watching the years slip by like leaves in the wind, because that is not living, that is existing, and there's a world of difference between the two. Existing is safe, it's predictable, it's routine, but living is wild, it's uncertain, it's filled with risk and reward and rejection and growth, and it demands that you show up every single day and bet on yourself, on your gifts, on the idea that maybe, just maybe, what's inside you is more valuable than what's outside you. And far too many people go their whole lives playing it small, never starting the business, never writing the book, never speaking the truth, never taking the leap, because they keep waiting for permission, for the perfect timing, for more certainty, for someone to believe in them, and in the process, they delay their destiny until it becomes a memory that never happened, and that, right there, is the slow death of a dream. And if you don't wake up to it now, if you don't feel the fire in these words right now, you may one day be looking back wondering what you could have done, who you could have become. And I don't want that for you, and I don't believe your soul does either, because inside you right now, whether buried under pain, fear, or distraction, is a dream that refuses to die, a vision that keeps whispering even when you try to ignore it, a calling that taps your shoulder in the quiet hours and says, This isn't all there is, and that voice, however faint, is the most honest part of you. It's your truth trying to rise, and when you silence that voice, you don't just lose a dream, you lose yourself, because we were not made to live lives of quiet desperation. We were made to build, to create, inspired, to stretch, to rise, and the ones who truly live are not the ones with the most talent or the best circumstances. They are the ones who refuse to settle, who refuse to shrink, who say yes even when they're scared, who trust their gut more than the noise around them, who take messy action instead of waiting for perfect clarity, who understand that dying with your dreams still in you is the greatest form of self-betrayal, because dreams aren't meant to stay dreams. They're meant to be born into the world, even if they're misunderstood, even if they're judged, even if they take years. Even if no one claps, because a dream lived is a life lived, and a dream buried is a life half finished, and the time to decide who you'll be is not some distant day when things calm down, when you feel more confident, when the stars align. It is now, in this moment, in the quiet choice to say yes to yourself, to choose growth over comfort, to take the step even when you're shaking, because comfort will cost you everything that greatness could give you, and if you keep waiting, you'll keep missing, and I'm telling you this not to scare you, but to stir you, to shake you, to remind you that you weren't born to play small, to hide, to fit into someone else's mold, to die with your song still unsung. You were born to rise, to run, to roar, to leave this world different because you passed through it. And what a tragedy it would be to reach the end and realize you never even started. Realize that the fear of failure kept you from the joy of becoming, that the fear of judgment silenced your authenticity, that the need for approval overpowered your own voice, that the years you spent doubting could have been years you spent building, growing, evolving into something you could have been proud of, and it doesn't matter how old you are, how long you've waited, how many false starts you've had. If you're still breathing, your dream is still alive, and it's waiting on you to act, not someday, not soon, but now, because dreams demand action, and they demand courage, and they demand endurance, and most of all, they demand belief, not belief from others, but belief from you, because you are the gatekeeper, the one who can bring it to life or bury it beneath excuses, and every single day you are making that choice whether you realize it or not. So choose to build, choose to act. Choose to be the one who tried rather than the one who only talked. Choose to put something on the line, to risk being misunderstood, to risk looking foolish, because the people who change the world are almost always mocked before they're celebrated, almost always doubted before they're admired, almost always alone before they're followed, and that's okay because legacy doesn't come from following the crowd. It comes from blazing a trail, and the cost of dying with your dreams still inside you is greater than any price you'll pay for living them out loud. So don't you dare quit. Don't you dare shrink. Don't you dare let fear write your story, because the world needs what you carry. The world is hungry for authenticity, for passion, for people who lead with heart, who live on fire, who aren't afraid to speak what's true. And if you become that person, if you live your life aligned with your dreams, then one day when the curtain falls and your time is up, you won't go with regret. You'll go with peace, with pride, with the deep satisfaction of knowing you emptied yourself, you gave it all, you held nothing back, and you didn't just dream. You did something with your dream, and that is what it means to truly live, to truly lead, to truly leave something behind that matters. Because at the end of your days, the questions won't be how much did you earn, or how many followers did you have? They'll be, did you love well? Did you try? Did you grow? Did you give your gifts to the world? And most of all, did you become all that you were meant to become? And when you can answer those questions with a full heart, with tears of gratitude in your eyes, with the quiet smile of someone who didn't just talk about their dream but lived it until their last breath, then, and only then, will you know you didn't die with your dream still in you. You died with your dream fulfilled, and that, my friend, is the most powerful way to live.